It's the spotlight on business immigration in the Arab and North African region. And we're particularly going to be focusing on the jurisdictions of UAE, Algeria, Egypt and Lebanon, and to an extent Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf Cooperation Council states. During the webinar, we're going to focus on 5 topics which we very carefully curated and thought through in preparation for this webinar. The first topic is key immigration issues, positive developments and red flags. Second is one which is so topical, which is nomad visas and remote work. We're then going to talk about parking and cooling off option countries, which again ties into our next AV webinar and again is hugely topical. The fourth topic is e-visas and visas on arrival, which again is something which all quite a relatively new concept and a developing concept. And then finally, the fifth topic, we're going to be looking to the future and we're going to be talking to each of our panelists for their wish lists and what they hope is going to happen and what is coming down the line in their jurisdictions.
Immigration at the moment is still booming. We expect to have more steps further in the next future, since the government wants definitely to push forward with the digitalizations and push forward with all conditions allowing a competitive and an international business establishment for Algeria and extension for Algeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Joseph, how about Egypt? What's the cutting edge hot topic in Egypt at the moment, or any red flags you'd like to shout out to our audience?
Thank you, Jean. For this question, I'm going to focus in 3 points. The first point, I'm going to talk about a recent law that just has been published like 3 weeks ago in Egypt. That's regarding the investment and obtaining the Egyptian citizenship. Also, I'm going to focus a little bit about the most question I usually get inquiry about it, which is the EED, or the work authorization for the foreign employees who can work in Egypt. And I have a short clip about the certificate of deposit for foreigners. For the first topic, a few weeks ago, Egypt announces a new condition for obtaining the Egyptian citizenship. According to this law, the Egyptian citizenship will be offered to foreigners and investors. This is going to be through 4 programs. I believe these programs are a little bit similar to the EP5 visa in the US for the investment for obtaining the citizenship.
We have some institution and some public organization in Lebanon which encourage the investment. The private sector somehow is very active, and we have great companies to make some business so far. So overall, we can say that Lebanon is still the hub of the international business in the Middle East and in the Arab world. But unfortunately, especially those days, yes, we are a little bit suffering from the slowness that strikes the law. But overall, we can say that investment in Lebanon is very demanding, and we are working to make Lebanon more and more the hub of the Middle East.
Thank you, Salam. We're going to move on to our second topic, which I think is something that I've heard so much about, particularly since the start of the pandemic, because I think actually the pandemic accelerated the instance of nomad visas and remote work as concepts.
Specifically around, again, like I mentioned, the acceleration of a lot of new visa categories that took place post-pandemic. The UAE seeing what was happening across the globe with remote working and people wanting to obviously stuck perhaps in Dubai as well during lockdowns, etc. They actually introduced a remote working visa, which essentially is a self-sponsored visa where you don't actually need an employer or local entity to sponsor yourself. The only main criteria that needs to be met, or a couple of criteria, is one, that there is a need to show that compensation or that the individual is receiving on a monthly basis is equivalent to $3,500 per month of salary. And that should be shown by way of evidencing an employment contract, which may be in the home country, and perhaps bank statements and pay slip for the previous 3 to 6 months, and ensuring that there's continuity in that employment.
I think we already are in a good direction. Now it's just a question of time and timing. I mean, the wish list that I do have, it's not only about Algeria, because in terms of immigration, you interact with the diverse, partners and government partners, and I think this is a great time for, like, in terms of globally, because at the moment we are living in a very strange situation where the United Nations organization is stepping back and not taking the expected lead. And I think Algeria must definitely play a role in that, and trying to bring people together and allowing, that people could invest in a free way and move in a free way from a country to another. For sure, there are always regulations and laws to be respected. But I think this could be the great future, and this great future will definitely make the pressure we do have those days, especially after the war in Ukraine, a bit down, and allowing people again to push this the globalization, which was something that we were living with the last years, and because of the pandemic and then the war, everything dropped down. So this is actually my wish. It's related to Algeria, but not only Algeria, I would say.